Welcome to Candid Conversations with Candidates, brought to you by Crowing Power in partnership with Lakes Media Collaborative and the Brainerd Lakes Chamber. I'm Lisa Paxton, and I'm pleased to welcome Adrian Welle, who is a candidate for State House District 9B DFL candidate. Welcome, Adrian. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Great. We're going to start with your opening comments, so start when ready.
Well, I suppose I'll give a brief background on me. I grew up in Lastrop, Minnesota, on a small family farm. Been there all my life. Moved out onto my own into the city of Piers. That's where I currently live. I have a bachelor's degree in public administration from St. Cloud State University. I'm a council member in the city of Piers in the 4th year of my first term. I am also the city clerk treasurer for the city of Uppsala, and I spent my internship at the city of Little Falls in city administration. A lot of people recognize me and remember me from managing Perkins in Little Falls, where I briefly was for about 2.5 years, or also at Grand Casino Mille Lacs, where I am currently a waiter on the weekends. So I'm all over the place. You never know where you'll find me.
That's great. Okay. Anything else?
We're good.
Okay, let's roll into some questions then. As you look at yourself compared to the other candidate running for office, what are 3 things that distinguish you from that other candidate?
The 3 things that distinguish me, I would say, is probably the fact that I've been in Morrison County my whole life. I've been involved in the district in which I'm trying to represent. I have never lived somewhere else and come back. My opponent's not originally from there. That would be one of the first reasons. The second reason is public sector experience. I have served within 3 cities working between city administration, clerk, and being elected. And my opponent has never held an elected office besides a church board or something like that. And the third and final distinguishing thing probably is being for Main Street instead of Wall Street. But on the topic of the city government, I saw the effects of property taxes and all of that, and that's one of the main reasons that got me to run. Okay,
great. Let's talk about Minnesota's economy. What's your strategy to help grow Minnesota's economy?
Growing Minnesota's economy, I would probably first focus at farming. Farming's our core of our district. Most of our district relates to farming. If we would take a focus more on biofuels, renewable energies, it'll get our farmers back to work, it'll create jobs, and get our state moving forward and hopefully be a leader in energy and resources and putting our farmers, giving them, more to do and paying them what they're worth for the job they're doing.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the state budget. What are your recommendations to balance the next state budget?
Well, balancing, I think the past legislative session, they seem to want to balance the budget by borrowing money from different places and fooling us into believing that all of a sudden we have a surplus, which we don't. We owe money to education to start with. To balance the budget, we have to realize that our economy is in a downward spiral. We need to live within our means, but I think we should also look at why am I, as a middle class person, paying a higher percentage rate on income taxes than the top earners in our state. We're paying roughly 3% more than they are, so maybe we should look at least the same amount, if not more. I would say we need to actually pay the same amount. Everybody should pay the same percentage.
Okay. Transportation is important to our area of central Minnesota. What's your recommendation on fulfilling Minnesota's unmet transportation needs?
Well, I guess one of the big things with transportation would be the light rail. We've talked about the light rail. We've heard about it for a long time. It ends in Big Lake now, I believe, and it would be nice to bring it up to Camp Ripley. Camp Ripley is right in our district as well. That's another economic driver that we have. If we were able to expand the light rail as a transportation source, imagine the types of things we can do in central Minnesota.
Any budget perspective on how to pay for those types of improvements or anything?
Oh boy. That one's going to get longer than I'm going to be able to explain, I'd say. Possibly looking at the gas tax expenses, I suppose, and that would be a good way. Or, we need to get the commuters together. It'll help our emissions as well.
Okay.
So I don't know how we would really go about paying for it, but we could find a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about education. What do you think is the state's role in workforce development?
In workforce development? The state's role in workforce development, well, first of all, I think it starts at a elementary or high school level. We need to stop taking money from our students. We need to repay the money we owe them. And I hear so many people tell us we need to shift this to local control. Well, if we go to local control, the the metro schools are going to be able to pass levies. Where out here in rural Minnesota, we can't. We don't have the base to do it. The market value homestead credit hit all of us in rural Minnesota. It did not nearly the effect it had in the metro. So who's going to get hurt there? Our schools. Going into the college side of things, we have our students graduating with so much debt they can't do anything. So maybe we should look at an incentive program to help our students get jobs to stay in our state, and also encourage businesses to hire within our state. So many of our kids are leaving our state. So I think the state needs to focus on their constitutional obligation to continue to fund education.
Okay, great. Let's talk healthcare for a moment. Minnesota healthcare spending is projected to double in the next 10 years. How would you address the rising cost of healthcare?
Healthcare is always going to be a wonderful battle that we seem to have, and it's making things quite heated this year. I, for one, really like the plan of moving to more of a single-payer universal system where it's actually going to keep our costs down. People don't want deductibles at $7,500, $10,000. We can't afford it, but we're forced to take it because that's all we can afford for coverage. I'm uninsured myself. I work 3 jobs. I don't have insurance. I'm at that rate where I can't qualify, but yet I don't make enough to pay for it myself. So I personally understand the effects of the health care.
Okay, all right. That really concludes our questions. Do you have anything else you want to add and share with the voters?
I don't really have much more. I guess that's
okay.
Get a hold of me. If you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, cell phone numbers listed, everything's there. Contrary to popular belief, not all Democrats are pro-choice. I'm one of the few pro-life Democrats. And that's about me in a nutshell.
Good. Well, I'm glad you had an opportunity to meet with us and share your perspective. Thank you for joining us for Candid Conversations with Candidates, and visit us at votebrainerdlakes.com.